Hey, Gary here. Welcome to BookMob episode 90. Today I'm going to do a quick one. It's a great book. It's a non-fiction book. I hardly do non-fiction books on here, but I've done a couple. And this one is called Final Cut by Steven Bach. And this is a book that was written after the destruction of the film company United Artists, a company that started for artists in the late 20s and then went up until the last film that was produced, a disaster, financial disaster for United Artists, and that was the film by Michael Cimino called Heaven's Gate. Now, Cimino had made the other Oscar-winning film, The Deer Hunter, and off the back of this Oscar-winning film, with Christopher Walken and Robert De Niro, he wanted to make another great, grand American story, and the one that he chose was Heaven's Gate, a title that was changed a number of times. It's loosely based, very, very loosely based on the history of a land grab war in the United States. And anyway, Michael Cimino had taken all of these great actors. He had this massive script, and this is a story that Steven Bach, the author, who worked in movies for many, many years, and he worked for a corporation that finally ended up buying United Artists, and it just shows you how the book talks about how difficult it is to actually make a movie, and also how difficult it is to make films with, I guess, creative, self-styled, named creative geniuses like Michael Cimino, who took his film, The Deer Hunter, as some kind of standard, gold standard, that any film that he makes will turn out to be as successful financially and both critically as The Deer Hunter was. So this film traces the debacle, the financial debacle that led to the breakdown and the final disappearing of United Artists as a production and film distributor. Now, when you read this book, I must admit, it is written by someone who was in the thick of it, Steven Bach. I mean, he was stuck right in the middle of trying to get this film, The Heaven's Gate, off the ground, and it basically goes through these various combative battles with Cimino, who doesn't come across very nicely in this book as a director. And of course, even Steven Bach in his foreword says, he wasn't that Michael Cimino, he wasn't very happy with the book when it came out, which I can understand. But the good thing about this book, and why it's such a great, invigorating read, is because it reads like a film. It's filled with characters, and these are characters obviously based on Steven Bach's own perspective, because it's his book, and it does detail in many respects how difficult it is for corporations to make films, because ultimately the book for me demonstrates that artists are, they are part of the problem, not always part of the solution. And the people have to, what no one seems to understand is that money is being paid by unknown people to produce films. It's not like you can't make like in this, I think this film in the end of its production was up to 40 million plus. Now, this is back in, I think it was 1980 or 81. But what they're saying at that time, that was a huge amount of money. Massive amounts of money. I guess the idea that an individual has so much power over a corporation through his own lawyers, through contracts, and it demonstrates contracts made when people are at a different level of power. Like Cimino obviously was at a very, very strong point after the success of his film, The Deer Hunter. So he walked around, I guess, and he used people. The corporation uses people, and it shows you how ugly the film business is. Ultimately, I think films are made for money. Most people, I'd say 99% of films are made to make a profit. And people who direct them, people who write them, want to make the films that they want to make, which is fair enough. However, the money people, the people that keep the money flowing into the production, are always demonized. Or, whenever you see a satire, it's always the corporation with the big fat guts and the cigars. They don't know anything about art. Well, the thing is, your art would not be made without the real hard work and the real crazy requirements that corporations put on their producers, while the people who get named producers, but the money people, the lawyers, these people, the accountants, who have to work so damn hard to keep their directors, their producers happy in order to get the film made. So Final Cut is a wonderful inside look at the film making business at a corporate level, and it's very, very interesting. It's a real page turner, and I think it was written in 85. I'll see when the original publishing date was. It doesn't say. Well, anyway, it was certainly. I think it's 1985, as far as I can remember. I can't see the actual date, but it's worth getting hold of. My copy, I managed to get my copy from one of the garden libraries up here in Ryde, where I live, and so that was a lucky break for me. I didn't have to buy it. I actually haven't looked it up to see if it's still available. I think it would be available because it is a universal theme, even though it's been nearly 40 years since the book was published. I still think the ideas of corporations involved in filmmaking is as crazy and as demanding as any other time in history. So let me know if you like this book. It's chunky. I think it's over, nearly 500 pages. But it's a real good inside look at filmmaking. And I highly recommend it. It was a fun. I got through the book really quickly. I think it only took me 2.5 days. So that just and again, I was sort of a bit hesitant to read it, but I just found myself it was just so capturing the inside story of flying to different countries to talk to disgruntled artists and directors. And really, when it all comes down to it, you always get the feeling that, look, this film will not get made if you don't do this, because the money's coming from somewhere else. It isn't coming out of your pocket. And I think that's the lesson, is that corporations who make films, big films, need to pay for it. And no wonder that they always the corporations are always portrayed as the evil bad guys. And it's a very easy trope. But believe me, once you read Steven Bach, it'll give you a little insight into the development of a film, into production, and into distribution and release. It does show you that it is such a team effort, regardless of how great the director is, whether he's made 50 brilliant films or 2 brilliant films. The corporation makes the film because they pay for it. All right, that's it for this week. So remember the last thing, Final Cut by Steven Bach. Great book, published in 85, 500 pages, easy read, very interesting, intriguing, and well worth the effort. All right, thanks for joining in, and hopefully I'll have another episode out soon, and I'll see you in the libraries, I'll see you in the bookshops. Keep reading, try reading, reading's fun. Bye.